Let's talk about Ted. Okay, listen to this. Now, a couple of days ago, we passed a historic day for our country. You know what that was? That was the 6th, the 6th of January. Very historic day. You guys remember what that was? It was my birthday. Amazing. I turned 23. It was very fun. I got to spend a lot of time with my frogs. I got to spend some time with my family. You know, it was a nice, peaceful, restful day for me personally, but it wasn't like that always. And a year ago was also January 6th, but something bad happened that day. It was the riot at the Capitol, where a bunch of Trump supporters were very angry that there's not more of them. Turns out being the silent majority is actually them being the very loud minority. And they got a big taste of reality. What we saw on that day is what happens when conspiracy grinds up against reality, and and your feelings go freaking crazy. Okay, I'm sorry. The fact that Donald Trump wasn't going to win with a 50, what did Poole say? What, a 49 state landslide? Donald Trump was going to win every single state except for California. And then he was like, I don't know, it may be a 50 state landslide. Who knows? It may even be like a 51 state landslide. Puerto Rico's going to vote. Puerto Rico's going to vote one day. It's going to be great stuff. Okay. So listen, that didn't happen, obviously. So what did happen was that a bunch of angry little heckers decided to descend upon the Capitol. Yeah, California, my bad. A bunch of angry little heckers decided to descend upon the Capitol and, let their voice be known. Break a couple of windows, try to kidnap a couple of politicians, maybe even hang some of them, hang Mike Pence. Just normal things that normal politically active people do, right? And so ever since then, obviously the right has been coping and seething, and they've been trying to dance two different dances. One is that the riot at the Capitol was cringe because it's bad. It looks bad for you politically to watch people of your political aisle literally try to overthrow the federal Capitol. Because, most Americans, no matter what they feel, like attacks to the institution of America itself usually doesn't go over too well. They hate that stuff. So they have to dodge that. And two, saying that it was actually super pog and sick because the deep state and everybody else in California and maybe even the CCP stepped in to steal this election from God Emperor Donald Trump, and they just need to stand up for what was right. So they've been doing those two dances, and obviously it doesn't work. It didn't work. Them trying that dance even before that, when it comes to liking and disliking Donald Trump, didn't work for them, and they lost Georgia and they lost Arizona. But now it still doesn't work for them because running as a Donald Trumper brings you pretty close to January 6th. But Tucker has decided to take a different approach on this, okay? Tucker decides to just lie. Tucker came out with a Cope documentary where he basically looks back and tries to debunk the radical left-wing narrative, okay? He tries to blame it on the left, that it's actually the left's fault, which is really funny. Just think about this for a second, okay? Hardcore Trump supporters, Trump till you die. These people risked their lives, and some of them lost their lives charging into the Capitol to save it from Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats. And then as soon as you do that, you put your life on the line for your country when it's actually for Donald Trump. After you do all that, they call you Antifa and they call you BLM. Can you imagine that? After all that work that you got into, and you're sitting in your jail cell with your 3.5-year-long sentence, and every time you pick up the goddamn newspaper and see a Fox News column in it, it's these terrorist BLM activists tried to make Trump look bad, and you're just freaking crying, shitting yourself, bawling your eyes out in the cafeteria. It's just funny. That's just a funny thing to think about. But Tucker just wants to lie about it, okay? And so this brings him up towards reality, which was Ted Cruz. So during January 6th in the Senate, they had a thing. They had some time to talk. There was a committee hearing, and Ted Cruz was on there, and Ted Cruz was doing the Republican shuffle, which is at the same time supporting Donald Trump and also trying to distance yourself from literally trying to overthrow and kill politicians that they didn't like. Okay, they're doing the cute little Republican shuffle. Tucker didn't like it, so he wanted to call the boy out. All right, let's just take a look real quick at what Tucker is so mad about, and let's see what happened afterwards.
On January 6th is quote a violent terror attack. Here it is.
We are approaching a solemn anniversary this week, and it is an anniversary of a violent terrorist attack on the Capitol, where we saw the men and women of law enforcement demonstrate incredible courage, incredible bravery, risk their lives to defend the men and women who serve in this Capitol.
And apparently that was so egregious to Tucker Carlson that he needed to dedicate an entire show to it. Entire show. Because listen, I don't like Ted Cruz. My man is cringe as heck, but there's nothing wrong he said there. Very few times in my life can I remember it being an accurate statement saying Ted Cruz didn't say anything wrong there, but this is one of them. This is one of them. He said literally nothing wrong. It was a violent terror attack on the Capitol to overthrow the election because they didn't like the outcome of it. But Tucker, he's not going to let him slide on that one. And he's here to grill. He's here to grill and cuck Cruz in front of his audience.
Senator Cruz was game enough to come on tonight. We appreciate that. He joins us now. Senator, thanks so much for coming on. So I guess there are a lot of dumb people in the Congress. You're not one of them. I think you're smarter than I am. And you never use words carelessly. And yet you called this a terror attack when by no definition was it a terror attack. That's a lie. You told that lie on purpose, and I'm wondering why you did.
Incredible. Yeah, Tucker's already, my man opens his mouth, already incorrect. Already mad, already seething. It's a lie. Why would you lie to us like that, Tuck? Why would you lie to us like that, Cruz? Why? It's so cringe. I mean, by a very simple definition of terrorism, which would be violence, especially unprovoked violence in behalf of a political aim, typically towards non-combatants or civilians. This was quite close to what you would by definition a terrorist attack, right? I think honestly, the conversation isn't whether or not we should call it a terrorist attack, but isn't whether or not it is a terrorist attack. I think the conversation typically revolves around, from normal people, it typically revolves around whether or not we should call it a terrorist attack. It's kind of like whether or not we should use the word like Holocaust for like other like things like mass killings or starvation or something along those lines when it comes to other things like around the world, specifically because we want to we like to keep those words, we invoke a specific imagery when we use those types of words, and for other things that seem like lesser than that, we don't want to use words like that for it. So when you think of like terrorism, you typically think of here in the States, you think of like the Twin Towers, you think of suicide bombers, you think of like Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria. That's the type of stuff that you think about, right? And so, I mean, obviously it would be a bad look for a lot of Republicans to get compared to, them brown people who do that terrorism. We can't possibly do terrorism here, but that's the sort of cope that's like when they leave, when like white people like immigrate, they don't like to call themselves immigrants, and people don't like to call them immigrants. They like to call them expats, because listen, immigrant is the brown people word. Us, we're expats. It's just cringe. It's just stupid. But here, let's take a look.
Well, Tucker, thank you for having me on. When you aired your episode last night, I sent you a text shortly thereafter and said, listen, I'd like to go on because the way I phrased things yesterday, it was sloppy and it was frankly dumb. And
I don't buy that. Whoa. I don't buy that. Look, I've known you a long time, since before you went to the Senate. You were a Supreme Court contender. You take words as seriously as any man who's ever served in the Senate. And every word you repeated that phrase. I do not believe that you used that accidentally.
Oh, Tucker. Oh my gosh. Look how hard he's grilling. Imagine being so mad and grilling him over I'm telling you, the facts to the right these days feel like oppression. They feel like they're being oppressed. You just say like normal facts and they just start molding. My man he's going crazy right now. Okay. He's frothing. He frothed. All right. Yeah. He's going to debate Cruz to death.
So Tucker, as a result of my sloppy phrasing, it's caused a lot of people to misunderstand what I meant. Let me tell you what I meant to say. What I was referring to are the limited number of people who engaged in violent attacks against police officers. Now, I think you and I both agree that if you assault a police officer, you should go to jail. That's who I was talking about. And the reason the phrasing was sloppy is I have talked dozens, if not hundreds of times. I've drawn a distinction. I wasn't saying that the thousands of peaceful protesters supporting Donald Trump are somehow terrorists. I wasn't saying the millions of patriots across the country supporting President Trump are terrorists. And that's what a lot of people have misunderstood that comment.
Wait a second.
Oh, he's molding. Now, listen, you don't have to, once again, I think most of this is just whether or not we want to use the word terrorist in this specific way. I mean, you can argue either way, honestly. And honestly, I don't think a broad definition is necessarily bad. You would just have to change the way in which we talk about this, right? We're gonna have to change the way you talk about it. But that's a topic for another day. But with this, you see Ted squirm. Why is he squirming? Because he knows he has to now appeal to two bases. This is the big reason why Loeffler and Perdue lost in Georgia. There's a big reason why McSally lost in Arizona, is because they had to do the shuffle. They had to do the conservative Republican shuffle. Say you love Donald Trump, but you can't say you like the violence. But a lot of the base actually did like the violence. You can look at any polling. of specifically Trump supporters, and broadly Republicans, and they'll be like, you know, actually, the attack on the Capitol was kind of pog, but it also wasn't our fault. It's just, it's incredible level of like cognitive dissonance going on in there. It's wacky. It's wild. And a lot of them think that it was like BLM, but the bad parts was BLM, but the good parts was us. It's just, it's hilarious. So now he has to be like, I mean, I would never call you guys terrorists. I mean, you guys are so good. Please vote for me, please.
Wait, but hold on. What you just said doesn't make sense. So if somebody assaults a cop, he should be charged and go to jail. I couldn't agree more. We've said that for years. But that person's still not a terrorist. How many people have been charged with terrorism on January 6th? Like, why'd you use that word? You're playing into the other side's characterization that, as Joe Kent just explained, allows them to define an entire population as foreign combatants. And you know that. So why?
Wait, for one, no. And Trump, if anybody's going to be condemned for their language on making everybody else like a foreign, like a combatant or something, somewhere along those lines, that'd be Donald Trump, who said the entire system was rigged against him ever since the beginning to overthrow him. The deep state was ruining everything. He literally said the country was. Can you wait for a second? Can we talk about this for like one moment? Think about this. Can you imagine how you would feel if unironically an election was stolen? I'm talking like ballots being thrown away, complete shadow society was uncovered, like pulling all of the strings, like a movie, like pulling all of the strings everywhere to make a specific candidate fail. Can you imagine that, right? For just one moment. And the Supreme Court has bought it. The Congress has bought it. Not only have they bought it, they're a part of it, right? The entire institution of America has been completely upended. Like Bernie? No, that did not happen with Bernie. What happened with Bernie? What happened with Bernie was like literal, just simple establishment working with for its own interest, so it boosts itself with its own interest. That's not on this level. That's not on this level. I'm not talking about that. This would be like them actually rigging, like actual rigging. Like it was won from the start, sort of thing, which didn't happen with Bernie. But imagine if it did happen. How would you feel? Don't you think, like, especially when it comes to a lot of Republicans who have their guns to protect themselves and the government, like overthrow the government type shit, right? Don't you think that this would literally be like if there was any moment that you would think that it's time to overthrow the government violently, don't you think this would be it? After you spend 4 years climatizing your voters to think that you are going to be thrown out of power, not of your own volition, not of the American voters, but because of some shadow government deep state that's going to completely destroy the country, and the country is just gone. Can't you imagine that people would think like, hey, you know, this is time to fight? He was engaging in a form of stochastic terrorism. He was to invoke violence randomly amongst his community, amongst his voters, and that's what he did. You know what? He got exactly what he wanted in that regard. You can hear Trump. I mean, we can look back at everything that in regards to how Trump acted when the riot at the Capitol was happening. He kind of tacitly endorsed it. Honestly, remember when Kevin McCarthy was like freaking running through the halls of the Senate, like on a call with Donald Trump, and he was like, Trump, call these people off. They're crazy. They're trying to kill us all. And Trump unironically goes, well, apparently they care more about the election than you do, and hung up on him. You can't sit here and tell me that Donald Trump did not, at the very least, understand that he could benefit from this in some way, even if it did work. So this is ridiculous, goofy, and the FBI defined it as domestic terrorism because it's an attack with motivation to push a political agenda. Yeah, once again, that's exactly it. That's exactly what it was. Very curious, Tuck, but he's mad. He doesn't like it.
Combatants, and you know that. So why'd you do it?
So Tucker, let me answer you directly. The reason I use that word, for a decade, I have referred to people who violently assault police officers as terrorists. I've done so over and over and over again. If you look at all the assaults we've seen across the country, I've called that terrorism over and over again. That being said, Tucker, I agree with you. It was a mistake to say that yesterday, and the reason is what you just said, which is we've now had a year of Democrats in the media twisting words and trying to say that all of us are terrorists, trying to say you're a terrorist, I'm a terrorist. And so, look, I don't like people who assault cops, and I stand up and defend cops. And the reason I use that word is that's the word I've always used for people that violently attack cops. But in this context, I get why people were angry, because we've had a year of the corrupt.
He's so cucked. I've never seen it. Ted Cruz probably up there. If I'm thinking just off the top of my head, probably one of the saddest, most cucked people that I can imagine. Just thinking off the top of my head. He's so cringy, bro. Everything he does is specifically to gain and or keep more power. He's so fake, and he'll waffle or like moonwalk towards any position if it maintains him power. All right. And it's incredible. He looks so confused. Tucker looks confused, and Cruz is He's waffling. He's grasping at any straws he possibly can to get him out of the situation, because a lot of Cruz's viewers watch Tucker Carlson, and they're going to remember that. They're going to remember this next time he's up for election, and they don't like it. They don't like it. You're right. January 6th did gas up his ego. He's like, this was literally Trump being like, I got shooters out here. And he kind of did, They brought guns into the Capitol, I'll tell you that much.
Corporate media and Democrats claiming anyone who objected to the election fraud. And by the way, remember what was happening during those protests?
Can I just ask, hold on, you work in this? I guess I just don't believe you. And I mean that with respect, because I have such respect for your acuity and your precision. And I've seen it on display. I've covered you as a reporter. I know how you speak. And
calling Ted Cruz precise.
You have sat there for a year and watched people use language to distort the events of that day. Intentionally. Insurrection. Coup.
Of course, terrorism. Insurrection. Saying it's an insurrection is a political term. It's a lie. I've repeatedly denounced it.
It was an insurrection. Yeah, that's what it was. They don't like to use that word because it makes them look really bad. But yes, it was an insurrection. It was an attempt at a coup. That is very true. That's what it was. The stated reason for why they went there and why they did what they did was to stop the certification of the election results, which certified Trump losing. That's what they did. That was the point. And technically they succeeded. They did stop the certification for 2-3 hours or something, maybe even less than that. It just didn't stop permanently. And now we have Biden. So, very interesting. Poor baby.
And when it comes to, look, I was focusing on what I normally say. That what you aired was a little 15-second snippet. What I normally say is violence is wrong, peaceful protest is right. If you engage in violence, you should be prosecuted. If you're speaking, you have a right to speak. I say that all the time.
Well, I agree. In that snippet. So who's Ray Epps, by the way, since you are a senator? He and this other guy are clearly encouraging the crowd to commit crimes. Neither one has been arrested or charged. What is that, do you think?
So I think that is a very good question. I don't know who Ray Epps is. I've seen that video multiple times. It's disturbing. He's clearly urging the crowd to violate the law. When you see the crowd start chanting, Fed, 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 for him to appear on the FBI's most wanted list and come off, it certainly suggests he was working for the FBI. That's not conclusive, but that's the obvious implication. And the Attorney General and the Department of Justice won't answer the question. Tucker, I can tell you.
Ted Cucks. Ray Epps. Who is Ray Epps? Oh, wait, we're diving into big conspiracy territory here, huh? A conspiratorial claim that the attack on the U.S. Capitol was a false flag conducted by federal agents. This is like a Building 7 jet fuel can't melt steel beams type shit, but for the Capitol riot. That's incredible. It was the Illuminati. It's the Illuminati, basically. Wait, I want to hear. What did Tuck say about this again?
He was urging the crowd to violate the law. When you see the crowd start chanting, Fed, Fed, Fed.
Do you think? So he and this other guy are clearly encouraging. So who's Ray Epps, by the way, since you are a senator? He and this other guy are clearly encouraging the crowd to commit crimes. Neither one has been arrested or charged. What is that, do you think?
If you didn't know, because I didn't know who Ray Epps was either. Ray Epps is literally just some random guy. This isn't a person with political power or anything. He's just some retired U.S. Marine in Arizona. He's just some guy. Why the fuck would Ted Cruz know about literally just some guy? Who's Ray Epps? Who is he? Is Tucker Carlson trying to point at Ted Cruz has inside information about who Ray Epps is or something? That shit's insane. Pictured on a Tranquil, Arizona ranch in his wedding venue, the ex-Marine accused of being an FBI plant sent to help incite the January 6th Capitol riot refuses to answer to right-wing conspiracy theory. Answer for your crimes, Ray Epps. Where are you, Ray Epps? Look, he's just some guy. He's just some random old dude. Oh my gosh, he's just some guy in Arizona. They're coping so hard they have to come up with some wild conspiracy theories about some random 60-year-old man in Arizona in a golf cart. This is him. This is the FBI. This is the FBI informant plant here to destroy America. It's the guy. It's him. Looks like he says slurs. I don't know, maybe. I think you just say that about all old people because they come from the slur era. Driving his golf cart around his small and immaculate desert ranch, Ray Epps appears a man in his element. However, the tranquil scene just outside of Phoenix, Arizona could not be in starker contrast to one in which he is also associated, the storming of the Capitol insurrection on January 6th. Because not only is Epps 60, genial host of rural weddings, he's also the former president of the largest chapter of the far-right anti-government militia group, the Oath Keepers. Oh, he's not just some rant. All right, He's not just some random guy. He's not in a place of political power, but he's like the grand wizard of the Oath Keepers. Yeah, so he does. You're right. So he does say slurs. The slur era, you mean the 90s? I'm talking about every year before the 90s and every year before the 90s. Oh, all right. So yeah, he's an ex-leader Oath Keeper. Nice one. Good meme. If you didn't know, the Oath Keepers, they're the guys who used to walk around a bunch of BLM protests and with long guns and then like flash and brandish them at people because they said that they want the cops to be nicer to black people. That's basically it. He was spotted in footage at the first barrier to fall to rioters, which was breached at 12:50 p.m. Of course this bitch was there. Of course, why wouldn't he be? Hey, look, it's him. We are going to the Capitol. It's in that direction. Oh, it's him. It's the guy. It's the guy. I love it. I love when the right eats each other. I'm telling you, you can't. This is what happens. Yeah, the Daily Mail is insane when it comes to ads. I'm telling you, you can't indulge in these conspiracy theories. They always will come back to bite you. This guy stuck his neck out for Donald Trump only to come back and be now named as a federal agent plant there to make Donald Trump look bad. Leader of a far-right militia group, anti-government militia group, the Fed. It's so good. I love it when the right eats itself. I do be loving that like right-wing Ouroboros. It's so good. So the Oath Keepers are feds now. I hope Tucker Carlson says the Oath Keepers were all feds. Just call the Oath Keepers are feds. The Proud Boys are feds. Everyone's a fed. Everyone's a fed. I want. They're all counter-revolutionaries. I love it. Please keep it going. I love this shit. I love it. It's so good. There's no evidence that Epps, who was a sergeant in the military, ever entered the building himself on that fateful day. So it's so fucking good, bro. It's so fucking good. So here we go. With the right eating each other once again. Who's Ray Epps? No reason for Ted Cruz to know who Ray Epps is. There's no reason for Tucker Carlson to know who Ray Epps is, but he likes to keep up. His writers like to keep up to date with with the latest and greatest 4chan conspiracy threads. Now he's digging up that filth and dumping it into common parlance with his massive show. How nice.
So I think that is a very good question. I don't know who Ray Epps is. I've seen that video multiple times. It's disturbing. He's clearly urging the crowd to violate the law. When you see the crowd start chanting Fed, 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 for him to appear on the FBI's most wanted list and come off, it certainly suggests he was working for the FBI. That's not conclusive, but that's the obvious implication.
What? Why would a guy working for the FBI be on the FBI's most wanted list? What? Why would they, for one, why would they want him to be so public? Why would they put him on the FBI list? And why would they send him out there? He was an insider. Yeah, he knew so much about the FBI that the FBI put him on the most wanted. It's most wanted because they love him. He was most wanted to be given a hug. They wanted to hug him. They love him. Some dumbass shit. Do a terror, friend. Go do a single terror, my friend. Go. Flee, my beautifuls, my beauties, go. I hope this ends up with him getting arrested for impersonating an officer. Only if, brother.
And the Attorney General and the Department of Justice won't answer the question. Tucker, I can tell you, I joined with a number of other senators trying to get the Biden DOJ to answer the question why so many January 6th prisoners are in solitary confinement, why they're being treated so much worse than the Antifa rioters and the people who committed firebombing and a year of riots across the country. And this Biden DOJ won't go after them. But let me also make a quick point, Tucker. Remember, while thousands of people were standing up to defend this country on January 6th, at that exact moment, I was standing on the Senate floor objecting to the election results, demanding that we impanel an election commission to consider evidence of voter fraud. And I brought together 11 senators to join me in supporting getting to the bottom of that. So, of course, it would be ridiculous for me to be saying that the people standing up and protesting to follow.
It was Antifa rioters. There's a lot of Capitol insurrectionists in solitary confinement because they're kind of insane. Like, you remember we were talking, like we listened to that Channel 5 with the QAnon shaman. Did you hear that guy? How can you hear this guy talk for more than 10 minutes and think that he doesn't belong in solitary confinement? Think about that for a second, okay? You're telling me any sane person hears that man talk and goes, oh yeah, this is definitely a guy who belongs with the general populace in the prison, bro. He doesn't even belong with the general populace outside of prison. Yeah, solitary is not helping. Listen, I'm memeing a little bit. I really don't think that we should have solitary confinement, especially for like a long amount of time. But I highly doubt the DOJ is the one that's responsible for putting them in solitary. I'm pretty sure that has a lot more to do with the individual prisons themselves and not Biden's DOJ. I'm not even sure if they can tell them to take them out of solitary confinement. I'm not even sure if that's how that works.
Because, I mean, people used what they call blood libel all throughout the 20th century to provide justifications for genocide. And it was kind of spread as propaganda because, saying that someone eats babies is like the worst thing you can say about someone, pretty much. It's like, if, you lose all your friends. Like if people think you eat babies, like it's over for your career and social life. So,
well, and I think it's important to note here, though, that first of all, you're absolutely right. And there have been many people that have been maligned and been demonized as dark occultists, and it turns out that they're not.
This is the QAnon shaman, just so you know.
There have been a lot of people that have taken a rap when they weren't doing any of these things. Like you said, it was just negative propaganda campaigns. But I also think it's important to note here that there's people that say, oh, it's the Hebrews that are doing it, or it's the Satanists that are doing it, or whatever. What you got to keep in mind is that, first of all, real Hebrews would never do anything like that.
When you say they worship Saturn, are you talking about the planet?
Yes. Satan worship and Saturn worship are one and the same.
Is it just because they sound similar, or is there a
No. We're talking people that understand the intricacies of astrology, interconnectivity, or what is called quantum entanglement in the quantum field, or the way that electromagnetic fields are nested, and when you contribute certain energies to a certain electromagnetic field, there are certain effects that happen within the ecosystem or within the electromagnetic nested ball of yarn, shall we say.
Right. So I want to talk.
As you can see, very normal people. These are the Capitol rioters. Very normal people. As you can tell, very well adjusted, very normal, 100%. Solitary isn't a sentence. It's just, I'm pretty sure. I'm just pretty sure it's just a thing that they just do. They just like to do it sometimes. Wait, where's the part where he was talking about quantum entanglement?
Something known as adrenochrome, because once the adrenalized blood was hit with oxygen, it changed from adrenaline to adrenochrome. Okay, and if people don't believe that adrenochrome is real, all you got to do is watch Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Okay, type in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas adrenochrome scene.
I love that. He's like, adrenochrome is real. If you want to know if it's real, look up this movie.
Some knowledge that most people don't even perceive because they're so busy being stuck in their bodies. Now, with all of that said, there's another faction with addiction, and we're able to digest these massive amounts of knowledge that most people don't even perceive. And these individuals basically expanded their consciousness field to like cosmic levels of proportion, and we're able to digest these massive amounts of knowledge that most people don't even perceive because they're so busy being stuck in their bodies. Now, with all of that said, there's another faction within the ancient Egyptian hierarchy, and that would be like the people that worship Set. And Set is like the ancient Egyptian form of Satan. Okay, so Satan worship and Saturn. As you can see, the Capitol rioters, very normal people. And once again, I'm not agreeing with solitary confinement. I'm just saying, these guys are kind of like not okay. And I can understand to some extent why they, at the very least, would have an extra eye on them while they're in jail. while they're in jail, okay? Yeah, peer-reviewed scientific movie, Fear and Loathing. It's true. He probably drank the blood of kids, maybe. If he did, his consciousness would expand to cosmic levels, and then he could engage in quantum entanglement. But you can't, because you're too busy stuck in your body. These bitches in chat can't even astral project. Cringe.
The law were somehow terrorists. I was talking about people who commit violence against cops, and you and I both agree, if you commit violence against cops, you should go to jail.
Yeah, but you're not a terrorist, You're not. You're a guy who assaulted a cop. Okay, so there's a legal difference, as you well know better than I do, since you were actually in the running for the Supreme Court. And there's a moral difference between a guy.
But Tucker, the reason I use that word is for a decade I've used that word for people that violently assault cops. I use that word all in 2020 for the Antifa and BLM terrorists that assaulted cops and firebombed police cars. But I agree, it was a mistake to use the word.
They're doing terrorism. Us, it's not terrorism. It's cool, okay? Once again, the word terrorism's for the brown. Us, it's not terrorism, okay? I'm telling you, it's just brown versus not brown.
Yesterday, because the Democrats and the corporate media have so politicized it, they're trying to paint everyone as a terrorist, and it's a lie. Exactly. And by the way, I've spoken out vocally against your exchange you just had. They want to paint us as Nazis. Yes,
I know, it's scary.
That is what they're trying to do. And I just, look,
so
I'm the
scary.
one leading the fight.
It's so scary. He's trying so hard. He's trying so hard to get on Tucker's good side. Holy crap. Oh my gosh. I can't even begin to start to try it to understand what it's like for Ted Cruz's balls to shrivel up into his like goddamn throat. Okay? How cuck this man is. It's incredible. He can't do anything. He can't do anything. He's towing two lines, and he's always on his hands and knees begging for forgiveness from some insane faction that he needs to vote for him sometime later. Absolutely sad. Daddy Cucker, please don't do this to me. Please. I'm the one leading the fight. I'm the it's not me. It's not me. Listen, all right. When they run out of things to eat, they will begin to eat each other. Incredible shit coming from these guys. They're simping for a news anchor. The thing is, he's not just a news anchor. Like Tucker Carlson, as like a news anchor, has more power, I think, over your average Republican than Ted Cruz does. I think maybe by an order of magnitude. Like Tucker Carlson has so much sway amongst like Republicans because they all watch him and they all basically think of him as like a fucking messiah. Yeah, he's a spiritual leader. He's their spiritual leader. So like doing bad by Tucker could just completely sink your campaign, especially in a big Tucker state like Texas. I mean, whew, baby. So my man has to genuflect at the altar. All right. A politician is cucked by a news reporter and he has to kiss the ring. How sad.